Okay, so let's pick up where we left off. So far, the cows and the hens have said, we are not going to make any milk or eggs until you give us electric blankets. And Farmer Brown, he is furious. He's super angry, and he types them a note back and he says, you must make milk and eggs. That's your job. So I demand that you make milk and eggs. I am not going to give you any electric blankets. Just make milk and eggs. And he gave the note to Duck to take to the cows because Duck is neutral. Duck isn't picking sides. So Farmer Brown gives that note, that demand to Duck to take to the cows. And now let's pick up where we left off in the story. So it says, the cows held an emergency meeting. All the animals gathered around the barn to snoop, but none of them could understand moo. So that means that even though they were listening on the outside of the barn, you can see the cat and the dog and the sheep. It sounds like they're listening on the outside of the barn. They can't understand what's going on because none of them speak moo. All night long, Farmer Brown waited for an answer. Duck knocked on the door early the next morning. He handed Farmer Brown a note. Dear Farmer Brown, we will exchange our typewriter for electric blankets. Leave them outside the barn door, and we will send Duck over with the typewriter. Sincerely, the cows. Now, before I go on to the next page, do you think Farmer Brown was waiting for an answer? Do you think Farmer Brown was kind of getting maybe a little impatient for his answer? Yeah, I think so a little bit because it did say that he waited all night long for an answer. And if you think about it, you usually don't stay up all night long just to wait to get an answer for something. You would probably just go to sleep and then in the next morning, hopefully you get your answer. But Farmer Brown, to me, it sounds like he stayed up all night long to get his answer. So he was a little impatient waiting to figure out what the cows were going to say. Plus, too, I think the other animals were kind of a little curious, too, what was going to go on because they're sitting in the dark. If you look at this picture, it looks like they're sitting in the dark, listening outside the barn door, trying to figure out what's going on. So Farmer Brown got a response, though. The cows say, we're going to give you the typewriter, but you have to give us electric blankets. So you put the blankets outside the barn door, and we'll send Duck back with the typewriter. So let's see what Farmer Brown decides to do next. Farmer Brown decided this was a good idea. He left the blankets next to the barn door and waited for Duck to come with the typewriter. The next morning, he got a note. Dear Farmer Brown, the pond is quite boring. We'd like a diving board. Sincerely, the ducks. Click, clack, quack. Click, clack, quack. Clickety clack quack. The end. Now, before I end this, let me go back to this page and let's look at this a little bit. So, looks like Farmer Brown made a deal with the cows and the hens here, and it says that he decided that it was a good deal to give the cows and the hens the electric blankets so that he could have the typewriter back. So, and the reason why he made that deal is because really he wanted his typewriter back, because if the cows and the hens still have the typewriter, then the cows and the hens are going to spend all day typing notes to Farmer Brown saying, we want this and we want that, and then they're not going to make their milk and their eggs. He wants the hens and the cows to start making their eggs and milk like they're supposed to so that he can run his farm, because remember, he's furious. He can't run a farm if he doesn't have any milk or eggs. So then before I end this, I'm going to ask one more question, and you're going to go on to your one more question on your seesaw slide, and you're going to come up with what your answer is. The last question I want to ask is, now that you know that Farmer Brown has another note, this time from the ducks, what do you predict Farmer Brown will do about the ducks' demand for a diving board? And then there's a little bit more that goes to this question. So what do you think Farmer Brown's going to do with this demand from the ducks? And what details from the story can you use to support your prediction. So you're going to go on to your last slide and you're going to answer the question and you're going to use details from the story that help you support your prediction. All right, thanks for listening, friends. I'll talk to you again soon.